Since I've been asked, here are all of the computers. Most of them are labeled. Well, there's other stuff other than computers here, but anything that doesn't have a label on it is going to end up getting stripped for parts and ultimately recycled. The ones that have been stripped already, all useful parts, are labeled as such. Some people are probably going to wonder why I'm getting rid of stuff, and it's because, well, what's the point in keeping all of it when a lot of it really is just the same, and some of it doesn't even work. It's just that right there. That one's got issues with memory slots. Like, I mean, even as cool as these are, I don't need any more Socket 478 Pentium 4s. I never really did get to play with these ones. There's nothing wrong with them. I may sell them as is. See if I can find a taker. You know, put a power supply in them and see if they still work and flip them for a bit of money. But again, I don't really need. This one's got issues with memory slots as well. I can get more of these. That's not a big deal, but that's not really the point. Of course, there's more of my stuff here. No. The point is my new air compressor. Is this, which I'm going to be repurposing. Remember, this was my former. The flies start buzzing all over the place. My former primary file server. It's a mess in there. Yeah, I remember this. This is that, I forget what board this was. What do they call this? K8V SE Deluxe? I think that's what it is. That's going to be coming out of there. I'll probably leave that power supply because I think I've got the connections that I need to all of the drives. But the drives are coming out as well. I may just pull all the drives so that I can clean this case up because it is disgusting. And I wanted to make it all nice, clean. So, but I'm going to do that first and pull out all the hardware. And I'll show you what I'm going to put into it. Alright, here's the stack of hardware that came out. 250 gigabytes across all those drives except for the boot drive, which was actually IDE. I was kind of surprised to see that. But that's fine. I can just leave that as is. I think it's 80 gigs. So it should be good enough. I shouldn't need anything on that anyway. Very empty case. Will be getting cleaned out. I should probably remove that fan too when I'm at it. See, the wind's picking up a little bit. Here's the board. That's exactly what it is, K8V SE Deluxe. Well, funny enough, the BIOS is K8V S1 on it. It's got a brand new clock battery. I may grab that for the new board. Because I don't remember if the new board has battery or not. Oddly enough, it's got a 20-pin power connector, but it does have the 4-pin up there for the CPU. Which, as I remember, it's an Athlon 64 3000 plus. I'm going to stop yanking and start cleaning out this case. Okay, this is the end result after both a vacuum cleaner and the compressor, which is now off and drained. That's not too bad. Definitely a whole lot better than it was. Of course, there's only so much you can do. This came out of the chemistry building originally, so it's got all this dust that's stuck to it. Forgive the noise, but I just realized I forgot all this stuff. Oops. So I'm going to have to do all that, at least most of it. The hard drives probably do alright. I got some new parts for that. This is what's going in. I've got 4 of these terabyte drives. I have a new motherboard in here, which I'll show in a second. And in this bag with another new motherboard for another project, I have all new trays, hard drives, with the special screws, so I can actually use the trays properly now. Now I gotta wait for that to rebuild pressure. Okay, again, forgive the noise. This is a new board. It's the Asus board. I forget why this was in the scrap pile. I think it's because the PCI Express doesn't work. Because I know that PCI Express slot hasn't worked for me when I've been trying to use this. If you're wondering what this is, it's a little speaker. There's a model. It's got a Opteron 64 170. Real cooped right here, 4 gigabytes of DDR PC 3200 memory, so it's not too bad. Probably should have a chipset fan, but it doesn't. Peace and quiet. So the thing that I like about this the most is that the connectors all face up, which is good because they won't interfere with anything in the case. So this is after giving it a cleaning with the air compressor. Doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to put this in the case and get everything set up. I will actually definitely need a CMOS battery. I'll get it put in the case, get the hard drives mounted. We'll take this inside and then power it up and get it all set up. Okay, the board is installed. Unfortunately, I still don't have the I/O shield, so it's going to be open at the back. Oh well. Can't have everything. There it is. Next step is to get the drives installed. Actually, I might plug in the front panel first, and then get the drives installed. Okay, so here are the hard drives installed. 2 of them will, of course, need these Molex SATA adapters because the hard drive, the power supply only has 2 SATA power connectors. I'm going to plug the fan into one of those as well. Then I'm going to put the 5¼ inch drives back in. Okay, there it is now, the power supply installed. Power supply is always the worst part, but it's in there. Everything's ready to go. Still a little worried about that chipset not having a fan on it, considering it's got a spot for a chipset fan. I may order one. I think my static batteries are blowing all over the place, but I'm going to put the faceplate back on this, put the side panel on, and take it inside and clean up the mess. So I think we're done out here. Okay, this thing is big and heavy, and I just realized that I forgot we have my DVD and an Ethernet cable, so I will not be able to install an operating system on this tonight. Oh well, at the very least we can power it up. Be very interested to know what the power usage is. Let's go ahead and flick the switch and see what happens. It should come on. Alright, just powered it up. See the posts. Yes. Press delete to enter setup. Right, entering setup. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Of course, there's a Rocket Raid card. About 120 watts. That's not too bad. So we can go ahead and come in here. And I'm going to have to do all this setup. You can see 4 gigs of RAM, not bad. The time, it is 23:11. It will be 11. And of course, it is, oops. I'm hitting the plus key and it's not working. And the minus key is not working. That's because you have to use the number pad. That's rather irritating. Ugh. It is what? 5th. 2019. I wonder if they ever thought that this thing would be used in 2019. You've got the legacy diskette. Those are fine. There's nothing hooked up to SATA. We'll turn on smart monitoring. CPU config. It's an Opteron 170. That was correct. It's a dual core. Should be 64-bit as well, if I remember right. That was the whole point of the Opteron, was a 64-bit CPU. But everything there should be okay. Enable the cool and quiet functionality, because why not? PCI plug and play. Initialize PCI. I think the PCI Express slot is dead anyway. We'll leave all the rest of that alone. Turn on both the IDE channels. Everything should be okay. NV RAID. Should not need RAID. For that, USB. All that should be good. Turn on the boot ROM for the LAN, even though I don't really need it. AC97 audio. Again, I don't really need it, but I'll leave it on. Everything in there should be fine. Jumper free. Could do some overclocking if I wanted to. I don't need to worry about that. PCI Express graphics. Don't need to worry about that. Instant music. I'll have to look that up. That's kind of funny. Restore on AC power loss, enable. Suspend. All of that should be it. And of course, here's our hardware monitor. Turn on the QFan control. Everything there looks like it should be okay. I don't have any chassis fans hooked up to this. Boot device priority. CD-ROM, hard drive, and the LAN. Or actually, sorry, removable devices, then the LAN. So all that should be set up fine. Scuzzy 0, I thought that's kind of funny, but that's alright. I'm going to turn that on, just so I know it's actually starting. If it's in a corner or whatever, I can hear it. I'm going to halt on keyboard error. Everything there should be good. And look at this, I actually have a working LED here. Did it actually do what it was supposed to do, or did it just reboot? Okay, rebooted. Okay. Floppy disk failed. So I wonder if that floppy drive is actually any good. Oops, delete to enter setup. I'm going to turn on that chipset fan failure. Ooh. Control H to get into the high point BIOS. I'm going to do that first. So the rest of that you don't have to see. Alright, so we go ahead and we come in here. Initialize all these devices. We don't need to, I don't care about any of the data on them anyway. I want RAID 5. The ultimate goal for this is YouTube uploads. All of the devices. You have a 3 terabyte array. Right back. Interesting. So we'll have to see how to get that initialized. I think you can't do it until you load the OS, which is annoying because server operating systems might not let you do that, at least not network attached storage ones. But that should be it for the hardware configuration. Okay, we're back with this thing. Turn that fan off. And as you can see, I'm installing Windows XP. Now, why on earth would I be installing Windows XP? Well, the simple fact of the matter is, in order to initialize the RAID array, I need to have management software installed, and I have no idea how that works under Linux. And frankly, I don't really feel like pulling my hair out. So I've got this installed, or I will have this install of Windows XP with the driver installed for the RAID card. And this copy of XP has got everything on it, all the patches, the Windows XP Unofficial Service Pack 4, all the POS ready stuff, everything is on this disk. So I shouldn't have to run updates on it. I'm not going to run updates on it. I'm not going to do anything with it other than install all of the necessary drivers. Which is to say, probably, I don't even think I'll need the video because it's just a PCI Mux 64. But either way, definitely the driver for the RAID card, and that will be it. And I'm only going to use that to configure and initialize this RAID array and do maintenance tasks on it if I need to do so. That's just the way that it's going to be. So that hard drive is going to be sitting around somewhere else. I got the rest of the pieces of hardware here, well, most of them. As you can see, I had to replace the optical drive because this optical drive is apparently bad. The floppy drive is definitely bad. That's something else. So I got this new floppy drive. I've also got this bracket, which is going to be used for the backup hard drive, which is sitting over here in this bag. Let's see if I can get that out. Here it is. I was going to go for the Western Digital Red drive, but as it turns out they didn't have any in stock. So I settled on this. It's a Seagate Iron Wolf 4TB drive. In fact, this was actually about $20 less expensive. So I might have done well just to buy it in the first place. So let's see if this actually worked, which I doubt it did. And I will come back when Windows XP is fully installed, and we'll install the RAID driver and all of that. Holy crap. That is going to take forever. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. What if I refresh the page, what it would say? What if I could hear any activity going on? Well, I definitely hear disk activity, so it's doing something. I hope it doesn't take that long, because that would suck. Okay, so I hope the music playing in the background isn't going to get this video muted, even though you can barely probably hear it. But I went ahead into this array management thing, I deleted the array and remade it. And as it turns out, there's a quick init function, which is what I used. So now, it says it's normal. I don't know if it's actually properly done. Okay, so I changed the floppy drive and it still doesn't work. So obviously there's a problem with the floppy controller on this motherboard. That kind of sucks. Just a little bit. So I guess we'll have to do without that. Let's see if it'll boot to USB. Nope, it will not boot to USB. That's annoying. I wonder what the deal is with that. Well, there's something else that doesn't work on this board. Apparently booting from USB makes the system spontaneously reboot. So I had to burn a DVD. This is what we're going to try out. Something new called Rockstore, which is different from other network-attached storage operating systems in that it uses both CentOS, which is different in and of itself, and also ButterFS, which I am interested in playing with. Interested to play with. The problem is that it doesn't coexist with Windows XP, so I can't put them both on the same hard drive, which is why I had to do that whole separate hard drive business. Oh well. Sometimes things just don't work out the way that they're supposed to. We'll see if this thing will actually boot. Possibly. Looks like it might. Mounting read-only. Oh, that's a good thing. Hopefully it doesn't try to install that USB stick, because that isn't going to work. Alright, here we go. CentOS 7. Might just leave the camera going. Probably should have hooked up a mouse, but fortunately it's a USB mouse, so I can hook it up manually anyway. Or hook it up while the system's booted up. Okay, looks like it is successfully installed. I don't know if my network is actually going to work, though. So we'll go ahead and we'll hit reboot, which I just went ahead and pressed. It should go ahead and restart itself. Hopefully it ejects the disk on its own. That is really loud. It looks like it didn't do that. So I'll have to eject the disk. At least the tray didn't get stuck this time. Let's see if it actually put the bootloader on properly. Alright, so there's the Rocket Raid ringing in. And here comes nothing. Oh, it's trying to boot to the floppy, which I need to remove. Here we go. I'll let that start itself up. I'll come back once it has started. Okay, so I'm really not sure what the deal is with this. I'm kind of starting to wonder if this is going to work at all. I don't know, did it actually boot? It's still trying to boot. Guess we'll find out if any of the drives actually work on that. I think it's probably that RAID card that's screwing up. So maybe doing the quick initialization wasn't a good idea. I don't know. Okay, so why do I have no keyboard? Asus motherboard telling you what. Okay, I don't know what was up with that. I'm going to disable the floppy drive. Go... Oh, it's not in there. So boot options. Boot up floppy seek disabled. And we'll save and exit. I'll see what it has to say about that. So now there should be no more stupid floppy screwing up all of my booting and everything else, really. So when it goes ahead and starts, if it goes ahead and starts, you should see here that I have changed my plan a little bit. I am no longer using Rockstore, I am using Xigma-NAS. And the reason why is because Rockstore was not running on this hardware. I don't know, it must be a Linux problem. Almost be tempted to see what Debian thinks about it. You can see, all the channels come up on the RAID card, everything seems to be working. Unfortunately, it's an NVIDIA chipset, and I'm almost wondering if maybe that's part of the problem. And of course, it's creating this little RAM disk, at which point we'll probably see if we can configure this. I may do that in a separate video, because I think this one has gone on long enough. And I mean, realistically, you've probably already seen, you know, thousands upon thousands of configurations, so. Okay. Of course, I am going to need to configure network IP addresses. Do not use DHCP. I don't even know if it's working, honestly. No to IPv6. Be very curious to see if it's actually working. So let's come over here to our computer. and hit the address, see if something actually comes up. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, after quite a bit of work, I think I have managed to get the CMOS battery holder down there wrangled into some kind of shape, or at least shape good enough to actually work. I've already tried this once and it did retain the date and time. So let's see what happens when I hit the switch. If automatic power on works, or what goes on. Yep, automatic power on now works. The way that it's supposed to. So the CMOS battery, CMOS is now retaining its settings. So we'll go ahead and we'll watch it boot. And I'm going to put it away. And in another video, I have decided I will do it in another video. But on another video, we will go ahead and have a look at this setup. Although I'm contemplating even doing that kind of video because you've already seen this before several times on this channel. But for completeness sake, I think I'll go ahead and do it anyway. So we'll just go ahead and watch it boot, the whole process. Some people like to see that kind of thing. Because I'm using all the channels on the Rocket Raid, it initializes very quickly. Otherwise it sits there for, 15-20 seconds and then complains that it can't initialize a port, which is obvious considering it's not plugged in. I don't know. It's very strange how there is no option in the BIOS to disable ports that you're not using. Or if there is, it's not very obvious. Sorry for not being able to show you the whole thing, but I think you get the idea. And there we go. Now it's up. And I'm going to bring it back down so I can put it away. And that's going to conclude this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. And I hope to see you next time. Till then, wow, that's a lot of V-nodes to synchronize.